back to my channel. For those of you who don't know, I'm Jessica and I have cystic fibrosis. Today I wanted to share with you what I eat in a day as a vegetarian with cystic fibrosis. I might throw in some tips for anyone who's vegan with cystic fibrosis because I've been there and I'm working to get back to that, but I'm not there yet. I do want to start this whole video off by saying, first off, I'm not recommending that any other CFers go vegan or go vegetarian. This is something that has worked really well for me personally, but I also am very fortunate to have a very mild case of CF. My symptoms are very mild, and I've gotten to the point where I don't even need to take enzymes eating this way, but this is something that works for me, that I had to really listen to my body, work with my doctors, and be really careful in transitioning to. So I don't want anybody to take this video as pressure. You can totally use these tips and apply them with those high-fat dairy things, those high-fat dairy, not alternatives, I guess, the actual dairy product. You can use cream and half and things like that too as well. So in the end, I'm going to include some tips for, sorry, I have notes here. So in the end, I'm going to include tips for getting more vitamin D, getting more fat, getting more protein on a vegetarian or vegan diet with CF. But you can use these whether you're vegetarian or not. So take what you need from this, take what you like. If you're considering going vegan or vegetarian, I would definitely recommend that you talk it over with your clinic, with your doctor, especially if there's a nutritionist on your team, which there should be, and see what's really going to work for you. I also want to say, if this is something you decide to do as someone with CF, or if you're a parent of someone with CF thinking you might like to try having them be vegetarian or vegan, again, bring it up with their doctor. Do not make this transition and this decision on your own. You want to be careful with and do it with the whole team. But also really plan it out. Look for ways that you can get to know your facts, get to know different nuts and beans and vegetables and fruits and what has the calories and what has the fat and the protein that you're going to need. So with all that said, I'm just going to tell you kind of what a typical day looks like for me. Obviously, it's not always exactly what I'm about to share with you guys. Depends on what I have. It depends on what's in season. It also depends, like in the summer, I tend to be vegan, and then in the winter, I'll be vegetarian usually, because I live in Idaho, and so we don't have a ton of alternatives, and the ones we do have are pretty expensive sometimes. So sometimes I'll use cheese or eggs, or if I'm getting sick and I know that I'm going to need a little extra, I will eat more dairy. So it really just depends on the time of year. I choose not to consume animal products as more of an ethical decision, but it's something that I notice has really positively impacted my health and my CF too. For me, it makes me feel like there's a lot less inflammation, and I don't get heartburn anymore, which I used to get all the time. And so for me, it's something that just really works well. It responds well. My body responds well to it. And it's something that for me is worth the extra effort. But I think that said, there is so much that you have to do to plan ahead, because as someone with CF, you're already eating so much. So when you take out dairy and meat, that's a lot of calories right there that is just gone. It's not options if you're on this kind of a diet. So for me, I've kind of mapped out my meals here, and I'll show you each one and kind of show different ingredients for each one, so I'll try to put slides in there. But I eat about 8 times a day. I usually have about 5 meals. They're smaller meals, usually. Sometimes they're not small. But 5 meals and usually 3 snacks. So I kind of wrote out each one for you. And when I was younger, we used to call it the Hobbit diet. So you'll notice I have 11's and tea time on here. So let's get started. I am fortunate that I am able to work from home, and I don't have a workplace to go to or a job to balance, and I'm no longer in school. I've already graduated. So for me, it's very easy to make meals whenever I need to and cook and everything, but I'll try to include tips for what I did when I was working and I had to leave the house for that. So the first thing I do is around 7 in the morning when I wake up, I have kind of a pre-breakfast. So that usually consists of coffee to get me going, and then a smoothie. And when I have that morning smoothie, I like to have greens in it, so I'll use spinach or kale. I do a couple bananas. It's usually a pretty big smoothie. I use almond milk. Sometimes I'll use coconut milk, and that can be a little thicker, but I like that the almond milk is usually fortified with vitamin D, so I try to do that, and it's usually a little bit cheaper. Along with that, I'll do dates, and sometimes I do cherries or blueberries, and that's kind of my pre-breakfast. So it's a pretty big smoothie. One of these days I'll show you guys what my smoothies look like. After that, I'll do, if I need to do a morning treatment that day, I'll do my morning treatments. And then I will usually work out. Sometimes I'll get my dogs up and play with them. So I kind of just do my morning routine, and then I'll have my breakfast around 9:30. And right now that tends to be eggs with cheese, and then usually pancakes with blueberries or some sort of fruit. And sometimes I'll have another smoothie, or else I'll have a cup of coffee with some more almond milk in it. Or if I'm feeling a little more hungry, I will have hash browns. And when I say hash browns, I don't mean like the store-bought kind. I guess you could do that, but usually I dice up the potatoes and I'll actually cook them. I'll use coconut oil or olive oil and with some onions and different seasonings. And if I have any herbs in the fridge, I'll use those. So I'll have those hash browns. I'll still have pancakes in a smoothie, and sometimes I'll have a Cliff Bar, or if I've made like banana nut muffins, I'll have something like that. And that's kind of my breakfast. If I still am hungry, I'll add another smoothie to that. And then I go on to 11Zs. So my 11Zs are around 11. Usually it's some sort of pasta. It's something filling but not super heavy. So for me, I'll do pasta, and after I make the pasta, I actually cook it in pesto sauce with extra oil. And so I'll cook it until the pasta gets kind of crispy, and I'll do mushrooms and tofu and tomatoes in there. And I do really like to add a lot of tofu to what I'm eating. Usually I just dice it up and kind of cook it in the oil until it gets a crispy outer layer, but I'm not super picky about it. And then along with that, I like to have a salad. This doesn't always happen, especially if vegetables are not in season, but I like to have a salad, and I'll usually have Greek olives, which are so good. If you haven't had Greek olives in a salad, I seriously recommend it. Sometimes I'll have a quinoa salad with kale, and other times it's spinach. And then I will add walnut and almonds. So I'll dice up the walnuts, or you can use peanuts or cashews. I just really like walnuts, so I will chop those up and then put them on the top. And usually I do like an oil and vinegar kind of dressing. For more calories, you could do ranch or something, but I just really like the oil and vinegar. And then another thing you can do is add cheese to the pasta. I usually don't. I just feel a lot better when I don't have the cheese, but sometimes I will if I'm really hungry, or if I'm at that point where I'm kind of about to feel, or I feel like I'm kind of maybe getting sick, but I'm not sure, then sometimes I'll have a little extra dairy just to get the extra weight on there in case I do get really sick. Because I know that when I get really sick, I drop weight like that. Like it's just gone. So that's something that I'm very careful about. And then around, let's see, probably around noon, I'll have kind of like a brunch type thing. So it'll be a smoothie and then a Cliff Bar or trail mix or a muffin smothered in butter. And that's usually about it. I'm not usually that hungry between like my 11Zs and my actual lunch. So then around 1:30 or 2, I will have my lunch. Lately I've been having egg rolls with tofu and just veggies, and then it's been soy sauce, but I really want to try a peanut sauce, and I think that'd be a great way to get more calories, more protein, and more fat in there from really great sources. Another thing that I do when I don't have the stuff for egg rolls, I'll make stir fry, and I like to use brown rice, and then I do a whole bunch of tofu, and then again veggies like always. And this is one that I really like because it's a way to pack in the sodium, but from great sources. I mean, I guess when you're talking sodium, salt is kind of salt, but I really like when it's kind of cohesive instead of just pouring salt on something. So stir fry is a really good one for that too. And then I'll have a snack. I call it tea time. So around 3:30, sometimes 4, I'll have a couple veggie patties. I really like what's the red brand? I can't even think about it. It's like a red box, but they're chicken patties, and they're vegan chicken or vegetarian chicken. I'll have to check, but they're not meat. They're fake chicken patties, and they're really good. And I like to have those, honestly, just in a bowl with barbecue sauce. If you're like a normal human being and like to actually eat your burgers like a burger, that would be great. And then you have more fixings and more fat. So that's another way to do it. And then I'll have a smoothie, and sometimes I'll have like a box of mac and cheese or something depending on how I'm feeling. I also like the cold pastas. I've been using the Suddenly Salad ones in a box. Honestly, just the cold pasta that you boil, you rinse with cold water, and you add the seasoning packet. I'd love to make my own. Right now we're in a weird limbo spot, my husband and I, because we're renting from a family member. So we just have a room in this house. And so it's a little weird for me sometimes to go and make my own meals. Like, I just feel weird about it. It's weird when it's not your kitchen. But I would like to get away from the box foods. That's just where we're at today. We're keeping it real. So then around 6, I like to have something a little bit heavier, and that usually for me looks like beans and rice, usually like 2 or 3 or 4 burritos. If we're really going all out, I'll have pizza. And I like to have, with those burritos, I like to have cheese. I put rice, but I make like kind of a Spanish rice or a Mexican rice, and I'll do extra oil in there. Not to the point that it's oily, but I like to toast the rice before I cook it, and then I'll toast the rice in oil again after, so it's a little crispy. And I'll sneak in tofu into that, which works really, really well. That's actually something that surprised me how well it worked. I'll go ahead and make the rice the way you would make Spanish rice. There's lots of recipes on Pinterest for it, and that's where I usually get my recipes. But I'll make the rice, and then I add like the tomato sauce or the tomato paste or whatever you're using for that flavor. And I quickly just fry the tofu a tiny, tiny bit in some oil, and then I pop it in there with all the tomato sauce, and it gets the best flavor. It's so good. And then with that rice, I like to add butter and cheese, and then in my burrito, I add butter and cheese, so there's just a whole bunch when I make these burritos. And that's usually my dinner. Sometimes I'll add a smoothie or something. And then around 8, I don't go to bed usually until about 10. And I don't like to eat right before bed, so around 8 I'll eat like kind of a dessert, but usually it's just another meal. And for that I like flan or yogurt if we have it. I like custards. Sometimes I'll have chocolate milk and just trail mix. I might have another veggie patty and some tater tots. This one really changes depending on how I'm feeling and also the weather outside. I've noticed if it's summery, I'll just eat a smoothie and maybe some yogurt with granola or something. But in the winter, I want really hearty, like fatty, greasy foods. So it really depends. And that's kind of what I eat in a day. There are things that I would love to change about my diet and things that I would like to make healthier, but that's where I'm at today. And for me, that seems to work pretty well. It gets a lot of calories into me, and I get a lot of different veggies and fruits, and I get those grains, and I get beans, and so that works pretty well for me. And then finally, I just wanted to throw up some of the tips that I have. Especially if this works for anybody with CF, but especially if you're not eating meat or if you're reducing your dairy intake. Vitamin D fortified everything. This goes for anyone with CF, because you can get it regular milk vitamin D fortified, you can get almond milk vitamin D fortified, orange juice comes vitamin D fortified, some cereals do. So anything vitamin D fortified, I'm excited about. If it's something that I don't have to continue taking even more vitamins over, I get really excited. The other thing is that if you're using alternative milks, coconut milk tends to be thicker, so especially for smoothies, that's a really good option. I don't know about the calories, I haven't checked, but I know that coconut milk is a little bit thicker, and that's really nice. I have noticed though when I put coconut milk in my coffee, even if I shake the bottle really good before I start, I'll get little flakes in there. And to me, that's not a problem, but if you don't like your food looking kind of weird, or if you don't like different textures, I would recommend almond milk for a coffee creamer. Because coconut milk shows up in your coffee. It has little white flakes. But also, that's not a sign that your milk is rotten. It's a sign that you've used coconut milk. What else? Like I said, in my smoothies, what I do is sneak in kale or spinach or sometimes both. And the way that I kind of hide it is, for me, really, it doesn't taste that strong anyway, but I'll put 2 or 3 bananas in there. And the sweetness really makes it so you can't even taste the greens. Hold on. Sorry, I got a phone call from my mom. We'll be calling her back, but I'm almost done. What else? Coconut oil in everything. Every single thing. I have coconut oil in my smoothies. I've tried putting it in my coffee. I hear a lot of people do that, and I'm not personally a fan. Maybe if I blended it up or something, but I'm not a fan of coconut oil in my coffee. So, but other than that, in everything, every food that I eat, everything, I just love coconut oil. Oh, another meal I really like, actually, now that we're talking about coconut oil, is white rice. And I will, like I said, I fried a little bit in coconut oil before. Oh, I'm sorry. Not just white rice, jasmine rice. So we're on the same page here. Jasmine rice smells so good. Tastes like a little bit sweet. It's really yummy. But I'll fry it up a tiny bit in coconut oil. make it like you normally make rice. And then after I'm done, I'll fry it in coconut oil again, just a little bit. And then I like to put it in a bowl and pour just a little bit of like almond oil, not almond oil. I can't talk, I'm excited about this dish. Okay, so we have our jasmine rice, right? I like to add a little bit of almond milk and some sugar and cinnamon, and it makes a really warm but surprisingly hearty kind of breakfast rice cereal. It's really good. So if you like those warm cereals, I definitely recommend it. Something else, like I said, using nuts on the salads, and you can do it on stir fry too. So cashews and peanuts, just chop them up really small. They work great on top of salads and stir fries. They would probably be okay in egg rolls and spring rolls, things like that. And then the last tip I have is to sneak in walnuts wherever you can. So again, you can put them in your salads and things. So you can sneak them into smoothies sometimes if you have the right kind of theme going on, like bananas and dates. Walnuts would probably go well with. But also in baked goods. I like to bake a lot, and especially with how many bananas we buy, if they go bad, I make banana bread and banana nut muffins. So anything I make, I usually tuck some walnuts into, and that's a way to get some more calories, some more protein, and some more healthy fats. So that is basically what I eat in a day as a vegetarian with cystic fibrosis. I hope that this gave you some good ideas, whether you're vegetarian or not, for sneaking more healthy foods into your diet and getting those calories up and getting those healthy protein sources. If you're someone with cystic fibrosis who doesn't eat meat or dairy, I would love to hear from you, because honestly, I feel like I'm the only one. When I told my clinic I wanted to do this, they were shocked. And they were shocked at how well it worked for me too. And I haven't really heard of anybody else doing it, but I'm sure we're out there. So if you're there, if you liked this, let me know what you thought. Let me know that you exist, because I would love to make some new friends. And with that, thank you for watching. Bye!